Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Mind the Mental Monday. I know it has been a while. It's been a few Mondays, but I've been kind of off doing some great things. So I'm really excited to be back here tonight. And all right, can I just be transparent? Y'all know I try to be transparent, right? Um, so Oh, and I didn't even put my background on, but that's okay. Um, so just in a transparent moment. So last week, I had planned to come back to Mind the Mental Monday. Many of you know that have gone away and on a really nice, wonderful trip to Ghana. I went to Accra, Ghana, as well as Cape Coast, and it was just really, really amazing. An amazing experience. I learned a lot. I met some really awesome Ghanaians who took really good care of us, took really good care of our group, and we're still in contact with them, with some of them even today. So I'm very, one day if you look at, listen to my husband's program last week on his radio show, which is you can see on Facebook, Conversation Unplugged. He went into a really deep conversation about our experience in Ghana. And I may do that here at some point, but I won't do that tonight. So, in a transparent moment, so last Monday, I had planned to come back. I honestly was just really tired and just was just like, I just can't do it. So, I can't, preach mind the mental to y'all and then not mind my mental. So I decided to mind my mental, and because I had literally, I had just gotten back. Well, I'd been back for about a week last Monday, and but have been traveling since I got back. And so I decided to wait until today, and I put out a video that said I'll be back. And I said, you can hold me accountable. I'll be back, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, that I will be back tonight. Well, when today got here, I'm telling you, my body was just like, I'm actually still kind of tired. I hadn't really or hadn't really prepared anything for tonight. Um, but I promised that I would be here, and I promised that I would come back and with Mind the Mental Monday. And so the last time before I left to go away, I had done a couple of episodes on, just saying no and sort of how that might impact us and how, what is our relationship to the word no, and why is it that sometimes we have real difficulty saying no, and what is it about the word no that sometimes scares us, right? So as I was trying to think of a topic for tonight, it's really good to have a good team because not only are they good at sort of spreading the word about Mind the Mental Monday, getting it out there, pushing it out so that you all can get it. But sometimes, when I'm struggling, trying to think of what should I talk about on Mind the Mental Monday, I just literally put a text message in our chat and was like, "Hey, what am I talking about tonight? I don't know." So, this is a very transparent moment. That there are moments where I usually do prepare something for my Mental Monday, but then there are those times where, I've just got a, a lot of other time commitments, and sometimes it's just harder to put something together. But when you say that you're going to do something, I also believe that you do it, right? So I did promise that I would be back tonight. And so I am here tonight. But one of the things that they mentioned was talking about pushing through fear. And fear is something that many of us deal with. And in fact, as I just said a minute or so ago, um, even in even in contemplating saying no, even in, thinking about whether or not we plan to say no to something that we know that we should say no to, a lot of times the reason that we don't say no is because of fear. Um, and that fear can be about come from a lot of different angles, right? It could be a fear of being misjudged, right? So somebody's thinking, oh, she's trying to be extra, or she's saying no because she thinks she's on a better level than she thinks she's better than me, or all those kinds of things. We might fear how somebody will take us. We might fear losing a friendship that we've had for a long time. And as I said before, sometimes some friendships, if it's somebody that's truly a friend of yours, and they get angry at you for recognizing your boundaries and for letting you know that I don't have the capacity right now to deal with whatever it is that you need me to help you with, or that you want me to do for you or with you or whatever the case might be, then you really need to kind of check that friendship, because a true friend, a real friend, is not going to cause you, to have a nervous breakdown. They're not going to cause you to not take care of your own mental health in order to take care of theirs. And that's not a real friend. That's not something that a true friend would ever do. And so if you find yourself being afraid to say no to somebody who is who's close to you, you might need to check that friendship. But let's talk about this thing called fear. So fear is defined as an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, um, or is likely to cause pain or a threat. Now, as we know, pain can be caused by a variety of different things. Pain is not always physical. Pain is very often, in fact, mental. Pain can very often be spiritual. And so nobody wants to experience pain. And so in order as a protective measure, very often, and so that we don't experience pain, or because we fear that something is going to cause us to experience pain, sometimes we don't say no when we should. Sometimes we accept things that we shouldn't accept. Sometimes we just sweep things under the rug. Sometimes we just let it go, just let it be, in order to try to, as we might say, I'm going to put it in quotes, keep the peace. The problem with that is that it very often doesn't keep the peace, right? And while it may momentarily cause you to not maybe have an argument or have a disagreement with another person, you will find that you are not at peace yourself, within yourself. When you allow yourself to be trampled on by people, when you allow yourself to do just for the sake of keeping the peace, when you allow yourself to do things that you know go against every fiber in your being just to keep the peace, whose peace are you keeping? Whose peace are you keeping, right? Um, and so we have to be mindful that sometimes the fear is caused by just not wanting to rock the boat. But we have to push past that fear sometimes. And it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to think that somebody that you maybe have had a relationship with, it could be somebody you've had a relationship with for years, right? Um, it, if you're thinking if you're thinking that you don't want to rock the boat with this person, or you fear losing that relationship, sometimes even though you might be keeping the relationship, you might be losing pieces of you. Do y'all hear that? You might be losing pieces of yourself to maintain a relationship that's doing you harm. And so sometimes we are more fearful of letting go of something that really doesn't serve us well than we are holding on to something that we know. And I think I mentioned this maybe several Mind the Mental Mondays ago. When you think about, for those in both Judaism and Christianity, when you think about the Israelites fleeing Egypt, there were many of them that was like, why we might as well have stayed in bondage. Why? Because that's what they were used to. You know, when you're moving out into freedom, sometimes it's a scary thing when you change, when you do something different, when you make a move that you're not quite sure about. It can be scary and it can cause you to fear. And so many of those who were, as they were going through the wilderness, sort of fleeing Pharaoh, they many of them said, we should have just stayed where we were. We because at least we could have gotten some water, at least we could have gotten a meal. Like, we know that bondage. We don't know this stuff out here. We're not certain about that, right? And so sometimes we're certain, we'll stay in bondage because that's what we know. And so even if I'm in bondage, I'm not afraid necessarily because I'm used to it. It's where I've been for however many years. But there comes a place and there comes a point where we have to tell ourselves that I've got to push past this fear because I can no longer afford to give up pieces of myself. I cannot afford to give somebody else a piece of my mind because my mind is already fragile and thin as it is. I cannot afford to allow pieces of myself to just fizzle out to a point where I just don't even, I'm barely holding on. I'm barely existing because I fear moving forward and pushing myself forward and moving into what might be unknown. And so those of us who subscribe to faith, that is where faith has to kick in and go into overdrive because I think everybody at some point, at some time in our lives, have gotten to a place where we have feared something, where there has been something that on the one hand we're being called to, and we feel like we should take the step, but at the same time we're not sure of the step, and we're not sure of what will happen once we take that step to do something different. And so we pull back and we shrink and we just stay where we are. And so one thing for sure, if you stay in a place in fear, you're not going to grow. But when you decide that I am not going to let fear take over what's inside of me, there's more in you to overcome the fear. If you just take that one step that you need to take to get through it. And so, yes, fear is something that is normal. Sometimes fear is good because it will allow us to escape danger. That's a good fear. That's a fear that pushes you to like make a move. Like I need to make a move quick or else I'm gonna get got, right? That's actually a good fear. But I'm talking about the fear that holds you in place. That fear that just has you not able to move. That fear that keeps you just holds you captive and holds you in a position that doesn't allow you to move forward, that doesn't allow you to enjoy life, that doesn't allow you to take that new job, that makes you think that you're not good enough, that makes you think that you're not pretty enough, or you're not this enough, and you're not that enough. That kind of fear is what holds you back and keeps you from doing from being the blessing to the world that you were created and purposed to be. So, um, fear, having fear means that you feel threatened. But sometimes, in order to push past that fear, you have to kind of take a leap of faith and do the thing that scares you the most. As long as it's not something that could potentially hurt you, and that's just for the sake of uh, you know, I don't know, trying to prove something to somebody. You don't push past fear to prove something to somebody. You push past fear in order to grow, in order to be able to do things that you ordinarily in and of yourself might not feel capable of doing. You push past all of that so that you can learn a new skill, so that you can meet new people, so that you can learn how to network, so that you can know how to, you know, go out and try uh, new things that will help somebody else who's coming along. So I hope that this is helping somebody to think about what do you fear? What are you fearing right now? And is the thing that you're fearing a thing that could potentially do you a world of good? Are you afraid to leave that job that you've known for 20 years in order to try something new, take on a new position, try something new? Are you afraid to get out of a relationship that you know is really suffocating you, that is really bringing you, doing more harm to you than good? Um, do you fear that outside of that relationship, you don't have what you need in order to carry on? What are some things that you're fearing? And if any of you, whether you're on Facebook or on Instagram, tell me, what are some things that you fear? What are some things that um, fear is keeping you from doing? Put it in the comments. I wanna see what kind of fears people have going on out there. Um, Sometimes, we fear what other people will think. So, I'll use the relationship example. You've been in a relationship with someone for a long time. You both have the same sets of friends. Um, what are they going to say? What are they going to say if we're not together anymore? Um, m- Someone said they fear new employment opportunities. What is it about a new employment opportunity that you fear? Do you fear that you don't have what it takes to do the job? Um, do you fear that do you fear moving to a something new where you'll have to work with new people and get used to new personalities? All of that, we fear all these kinds of things, but those are the things that can also help us grow. We get used to kind of, being in the same place, in the same space, doing the same thing over and over and over again. We get used to it, um, to a point where a lot of times we find ourselves just on autopilot. But when you get to a place where you're just on autopilot, you're not growing. You're not learning anything new. You're not pushing past those fears to gain a new skill, gain some new friends. Um, some people fear, someone said, confrontation, afraid of confrontation, afraid of the outcome of a confrontation. So in the case that you're in a relationship that you know is really bringing you down, but confronting that person, what fearing what that might trigger or what that might bring with it. Um, in those kinds of cases, especially if the fear, if there's some kind of a physical threat, then I I would suggest getting to some place of safety, being able to contact the appropriate authorities, um, but being away from that person, getting away from that situation, if there's some kind of an abusive situation. But if it's a place where you are, where you're just unsettled and nervous about what the other person will think or what other people will think, then you have to get to a place, fear of rejection. Yes. Where you have to get to a place where you decide, is it better to stay in a place or stay in a relationship or stay in a job that is sucking the life out of me? Or is it better to face that fear of rejection, to face that fear of what somebody else will think, to face that fear head on, get through it, and move to see what's on the other side of it? What's worse, right? What's worse? Just staying in a situation and just being in fear, or taking that leap of faith and pushing past that fear and finding out that on the other side of it, there's still life. On the other side of that, in fact, life is better because I'm no longer bound and constrained by what somebody else thinks, by what somebody else is going to say about what this step that I'm taking. So, and I know I get it. I know that all of what I'm saying is easier said than done. I get it, because eh, you're I'm saying what I've have been through myself, and in some cases still going through. N- just in terms of wanting to take a leap of faith to do something new. But at the same time, like, I still got bills, and I think I need to kinda stay with what's safe right now, right? So I'm not saying anything that I'm honestly not going through, myself, but, I do want to encourage us to not let fear keep us bound, because we can't grow that way. And so sometimes maybe we have to practice what we're going to say in the mirror. Maybe there's a trusted friend that we can practice on what we're gonna how we're going to actually remove ourselves from this thing, whatever it might be in your case, this fear, this fear of being rejected. Um, because it truth be told, many very often when we fear rejection of somebody that we're in a relationship with, if it's that hard for us to talk to them, the truth of the matter is we're already being rejected. Because if you have to be that fearful of telling somebody like how you actually feel, or or confronting them about something that's happening with you internally, because of maybe the way that they're treating you, or you know whatever it is in that relationship, if you're already feeling that, then in some ways you're already feeling rejected. Because if you're not feeling rejected by somebody, then you really don't have the fear of having a conversation with them. You don't have a fear of being able to say, listen, um, I don't have anything against you. I love you, but I have to do this for me. Because if it's somebody who actually has your best at heart, um, then they're going to understand and say, well, they're going to want what's best for you. And even if they're hurt in the process, even if their pride is hurt in the process, they will at least understand and desire what is best for you. And so, I just think that there are just so many different things that we fear, and so we have to examine for ourselves whenever we find ourselves in a situation where we fear. We have to really sort of examine what is the root cause of the fear. So if we fear rejection, is the root cause of that we actually feel like the person is going to reject us? Or is it that we, from a very early age, have experienced rejection over and over and over again, and we have not been treated for it? We have not, been able to go and get the kind of therapy we might need for it, and so we don't really know. So the thing, the least little thing that we can hold on to, we want to hold on to it, because at least at least they're not rejecting us. They might be sucking the life out of us, but in our minds, at least they're with us, right? So we have to kind of get to the root cause of what is it that will make me feel rejected if I take this step. And for some, once you sort of get to that root cause, you'll be able to sort of think through, okay, how do I pull that? How do I yank that up by the root, and get that fear out of here? For some people, it will be facing it head on. For some people, they have to try to get over their fear just by facing it. Sometimes facing the fear doesn't necessarily help you get over the fear. Um, my my husband always talks about when we first started dating, and we went to an amusement park, and I always in my mind had fantasized about somebody coming up with a stand-up roller coaster. Well, somebody did, right? And it was new when we first started dating. It's called the Shockwave at King's Dominion. So we were on a date at King's Dominion. He does not like heights. So he was like, I was like, come on, you want to get on? And he's like, nah, I'm okay. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go get on, and I'll just meet you here. So of course his pride said, well, I'm not gonna let my girl like show me up like that, right? So he he musters up the courage to get on the roller coaster with me. We get on the roller coaster. We get to the top of the hill. We're standing up, right? We get to the top of the hill. All of a sudden, out of nowhere comes a thunderstorm. So we get to the top of the hill. All of a sudden, the lightning flashes and the big thunder booms. But we're too far gone on the ride. So the ride just has to go through and finish before we can get off, right? And so at that, did that help his fear of roller coasters and of heights? No. And then once he put the ring on the finger, it's like, listen, I don't have nothing to prove to you anymore. I'm not doing that again, right? So there are those kinds of things where we might try to face fear and just face it, and just we're going to just face it right head on. And we think that that's going to help us, but that doesn't necessarily help us to get over it, because we have not really dealt with the root causes of what is causing us to fear this way. Why do I fear being rejected so much? Why do I fear um, what somebody else thinks of me, or what somebody else is going to say about me? Like, what is it? that is causing me to fear it so badly. So in those cases, we really need somebody who is trained, who is, who is licensed and who has the skill set to bring pull that out. And there we will what we might find is that there are things in that may have happened in childhood that we've just gone on with life and we haven't really thought about it. But then when we really think about it, it's like, oh wow, that's exactly where that comes from. So then you have to confront that head on. And when you kind of confront the root of cause of it head on, that is when you can start to really work on just pulling all those roots out so that you no longer have those kinds of fears in other situations. But it's work. And so that's the thing. It's not something that you just kind of get over easily. It takes work. It takes work and it takes a desire to intentionally do the work. And so I would advise anybody who feels that way, to really think about, if you're not already, think about therapy, and getting with a therapist who can help you to really dissect why you're having this same fear, especially if it's a fear that you have over and over and over again. It's the same fear all the time. It's something that it's important for us to really think through and really kind of get to the root causes of that. And then sometimes it's not even something that may have happened to us directly, but it could be something that we've seen happen to others in our lives. It could be our parents' relationship. It could be some nuances that we saw in their relationship, or it could be that we our parents didn't have a relationship. Right? There are many who grow up in single parent households and never see their parents interact in any kind of way. And so in that, they don't really get a clear understanding of what it is to be in relationship with somebody else, and so you sort of fear that your relationship is going to fizzle like your parents did, right? And you don't want that. And so to keep the peace and to save face, you decide to just go ahead and let those pieces of yourself chip away rather than confront and deal with the situation, um, so that you can grow through it. And it's not something that you just kind of get over. So I don't want you to think that I have some sort of flippant response to that. Like, oh, just get over it. Just push through your fear. No, that's not something that you just do. That, like I said, it is something that you work at with intentionality, and it's something that you grow through. And sometimes it takes time. So, sometimes it's not something that you just kind of push through in a day. Um, well, my husband had a preaching engagement in Pittsburgh, and from where we live, that means that we had to kind of go drive up into the mountains, in a very mountainous area, and during the drive there, just like, so where I'm from Baltimore, and we have tunnels that are like underwater, right? That so that we can kind of go through water in the car, but in a tunnel, right? Well, they have tunnels that go through mountains. And as we were driving through the tunnels, going through the mountains, I thought, wow, here it is that somebody designed something. They were able, whoever did it, um, were able to blow through the mountain so that we don't have to climb over it to get to the other side. And I'm sure that they probably had to take a lot of sticks of dynamite to blow a hole through the mountain that will get you to the other side of the mountain. But eventually, they were able to blow through it. They were able to pave it, able to put the little things up on the side on the wall, so that all of us could more easily get through. Sometimes life is going to put some mountains in your way, and fear is one of them. Sometimes the fear causes us to have to kind of blow something up to get through it. Do I mean to literally blow something up? No, that's not what I'm talking about. But sometimes we have to blow up our mindset. We have to change. We have to change the way that we're thinking, and replace the way that we're thinking with a positive way of thinking that I can get through this. I'm not going to have to climb the mountain to get through it. I'm going to blow through this mountain of fear. Now, I'm sure it took several sticks of dynamite to blow through the mountain, because they couldn't like do too much to completely just blow up the mountain. They needed to do just enough to little by little chip through the mountain, right? And so there are going to be some dynamite in our minds that we're going to have to use to kind of blow through those mountains of fear. And when we get through, when we can see our way clear to the other side, then that's not enough. We can't just do that, but we've got to pave the road so that we can easily, from that point on, get through it. And what does paving look like? It looks like going to therapy if you need to. It looks like having conversations, having difficult conversations with people you love, people you've been in relationship with for a long time. It looks like looking at yourself. We dealt with this too. Looking at yourself in the mirror. It looks like taking that log out of your eye, right? It looks like replacing fear with faith. It looks like, um, in our Christian scriptures, it tells us God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. And so, in order to get through to that sound mind, we got to have some power. That's that dynamite, right? We got to have some love, which paves the way to get through to the other side so that we can have a sound mind. But fear, when we're in fear, it doesn't give us a sound mind. A sound mind is one where we're at peace. If we're not at peace, then our mind is not sound. And when we're not at peace, when there's a lot of anxiety happening, when we're in fear of whatever the fear might be, we have to get to a place, we have to find that space that allows us to take care of those thoughts in our minds, to remove those thoughts that would have us to fear and replace it with thoughts of, I can do this. I can have this conversation. I'm going to get through this mountain. And I don't have to climb the mountain necessarily, but there's some dynamite that will help me to blow through the mountain and get to the other side, because I know that there is something better on the other side. I can get through this. So that dynamite, so that paving the road, that's your affirmation, that's your reading your scriptures, that is, you're talking it through with somebody who is a licensed therapist. That could be talking to a minister at your church and getting some getting some soul care from them. It could be a variety of things, but you have to decide for yourself, what does that look like? What does it look like for me to push through fear? Why am I fearing? Where is the fear coming from? What is the root cause of the fear? What do I need to pull that fear up by the root, blow through the mountain, and get to the other side? So that's it. That's what I got tonight. I hope that it is. I hope that this has been helpful, and I look forward to coming back next week with more Mind the Mental Monday. Thank you for tuning in. Please, please, please. Here are my asks of you. If you have not done it already, please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Benita_Weathers329. Go do it. The second thing, my second ask is please put in the comments what are some topics of interest to you um, that you would like discussed here on Mind the Mental Monday. Let me know what you're interested in, and I will be sure to address it on one of these. Um, Also, I am also a licensed life coach, and so if you're looking, particularly if you're over the age of 45, you're looking to retool, refuel, and reignite your life and to thrive. You feel like you're not thriving and you want to find that spark again. I'm your girl. Give me a call. I will arrange you a 30-minute free session with you, and we can talk about what my packages are and talk about how I can ride shotgun in this car called life with you to help you reach your destination. All right. So I want to say thank you again. Thank you for tuning in. And please share this. This is my last ask for tonight. Share this. Share this with your network. If you feel like you really, if you got something out of it, and you feel like it's helpful, let me know. Even if you have constructive criticism, I want to hear that too. Why? Because that not just criticism just to be criticizing, but constructive criticism that will help me get better, help me to serve you better. Put DM me and let me know. I'd appreciate that as well. All right. So you all have a blessed week. Don't forget to mind the mental intentionally every day. Be proactive about your mental health. Make mental health care a family affair. Talk to the young people about mental health. And hey, let's get it. All right. Love you guys. Have a great week. Bye.